All right, so thank you so much, Peter Celis, for joining.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like this, for joining. And let me introduce you in a few sentences, what you do and so on. So you're a Belgian guy and you're founder of Judge Me, which is a tool for e-commerce store owners who want to provide reviews on their sites and increase conversion rates and let the visitors of the page see like what other customers are saying about the product. And you made it easy. You made it easy for Shopify users, for WooCommerce users, and I'm pretty sure that you will tell us some other platforms as well. And okay. And one last thing before we start, before you introduce us a little, you launched a new website just 30 minutes ago for the sake of this interview, because you had a really simple website before. You launched.
Yes, we had no homepage until 30 minutes ago, and then for you, we launched a new homepage.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that we can motivate people to take action like this.
To do our job, yeah.
All right. So, Peter, PJ, why don't you start by introducing yourself a little? Where you come from? How did you get into online marketing space and for SaaS entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for inviting me, first of all. So I'm PJ Celis in English. It's Peter Jan Celis in Dutch. I'm from Flanders, the north of Belgium. And I wanted always to be a tech entrepreneur since I was like 23, 24. The problem was I was studying economics before that, so it's very hard to start when you study economics. So I started after my university, I was in Belgium doing consulting, management consulting. I hated that. I quit after 9 months. And then I did something called Startup Chile. So Startup Chile is a program. It started, I think, 8 years ago. And so Chile was basically giving you 40,000 to start your tech company in Santiago. You probably heard of this, right?
Okay.
And I was part of the second batch. And so the first Judge Me, so the first time I started a company called Judge Me was in Santiago doing online arbitration. If I can show you how the website looked back then. So I launched this in January 2012 on my birthday, 17 January. And so the goal was to type of online court for the internet. The problem was I had no skills to build a website, so I was using the 40K that I got from Chile to basically pay like local web developers for me. And then every time I wanted to make a small change, I had to go back to them, and it was so annoying. And also, I think I made a mistake in the business model. So although my first Judge Me online arbitration went to #1 for like online arbitration and internet arbitration in Google, I got people using my clause. Like, I'm not sure if I should maybe explain what online arbitration is first.
Maybe before we go really further into the whole progress, can you tell why did you decide to start Judge Me at the first place? Like, what did you brought the idea to provide reviews for the e-commerce store owners? Okay,
so the second time I started Judge Me, which is 4 years ago, I had the domain name, so I wanted to do something that actually made sense for the name Judge Me. And then there's two options. You can start something with reviews, right? And
Okay.
one thing I learned from like reading online is that it's easier to do a B2B SaaS company. It's a much better model than always finding a new online dating profile. I mean, I actually didn't want to do online dating at all. So obviously something about reviews. And for my first company, if you want, I can explain later, I learned that the marketing side isn't something I really like so much. I like to make the product. And so I wanted to find some platform that could help me do the marketing for me. And then I found Shopify as a platform, and they allowed me to also charge monthly. I think it's one of the only app stores where you can just charge monthly and they will charge money and they will send you the money with PayPal. I mean, 8%, they keep a commission. And so if you're starting out, this is amazing, right? Because even if you're in Vietnam, like I was at the time and I still am in Vietnam, you can just open a PayPal account and you can get going. You don't have to start a company with Stripe Atlas and worry about bank accounts and international payment, whatever. So it's very nice. And that's what I did. And we were pretty early in Shopify App Store. We were, I think, the third proper app for our category. And so we just grew our site. And now today we're 18,000 shops almost. I mean, 17,900, out of which 4,500 are paying us $15 a month, and that's our revenue. So we have, so the thing we do with our app is if you want to have product reviews on your website, which I think you should if you're an e-commerce store, because it increases conversions, it builds trust with your customers, then you can use us and we do everything. So we can create a review over email, we can ask your customers for the review, we can show those reviews on your website, we can show them on like Google snippets, so we can show in the Google search results, on Facebook, etc.
All right, so let me step back a little bit. So what you did, you had the Judge Me domain, and you said, all right, what business could fit to this domain name? And you come up with.
But it's like half a joke. But because in my first Judge Me, I actually bought a Judge Me domain name because I wanted to be the online judge. I wanted to make an online small claims court, right? And this I think failed. I made some mistakes, but anyway, you can go in it if you want. But then I realized that if you run some online arbitration service, you're kind of hoping that your customer has a problem, because you only make revenue when the customer has a dispute with a trading partner. So then you have a kind of a business model where you're hoping for like despair among your customers, which is a very strange business to run, right? So I made the mistake of charging by the case. I think if you start an online claims court, you want to charge for membership, and then it doesn't matter how many times you use it. But anyway, then I realized that if I switch it around, if I enable the actual 5-star e-commerce happening, like all the goods trades are much better model. So, and this is product reviews, right? So if you're trying to figure out which products are 5-star products and then tell the consumer about them, that's a much better model. That's a much more sustainable, positive business. So that's what we do now the second time. So in my mind, it's kind of related. It's just the opposite of the same coin.
All right. So you decided that you will help e-commerce stores to show the reviews from all the various sources. What was the very first step? So you noticed that there's some need that it's quite difficult to like upload all the reviews on your Shopify store or WooCommerce store. So what was your first step after you analyzed that this problem exists?
Yeah, so what I did back then, there were 2 review apps that are actually in use. You had Shopify product reviews. Shopify made their own like small free product review to have something in the app store. And there was one company from Israel, Yotpo is the name, and they had a very proper app back then. They were still affordable back then. Now they're too expensive, so nobody likes them anymore. But back then they were very competitive. And I just analyzed every app review that I could see in the Shopify app store of these competing apps, and I found an angle that neither of them offered. And the angle was, I was gonna add rich snippets, which is to show the reviews in like Google search results on the free plan. So with Yotpo, you had to pay for this. With the Shopify app, you got it for free, but then Shopify app didn't send emails. So I was also going to send emails for you. So the combination of rich snippets and emails was our unique selling point. Like I had 2 features in the beginning, those 2, but I was the only of the 3 apps with a combination of the 2 for free. So that's how I started, and then
Okay, so this was like your main user acquisition strategy on the start. That you took the paid features from the product from your competitors, and you made them available for free.
Yes, I mean, if you analyze app reviews, these are the 2 things that people kept mentioning. On the Yotpo app reviews, they were saying, oh, the snippets cost too much money. On the one on Shopify, they were saying, oh, it's a great app, but if you send emails, it would be better. So it was obvious to combine the 2 if you had all of them. So that's what we did. And then obviously we also tried to make some money. So some of the things we added on top of that was then part of the paid plan. And we are very simple. We actually believe in keeping things super simple. So we're either free or $15 a month. And so over time, if you wanted to customize the email, for example, you had to upgrade to the paid plan. And so yeah, over time, we just, like every time we develop a feature, we ask ourselves, is it paid or free? That's how we do it. Yeah.
That's interesting. So you actually needed to come up with a more creative ideas than the other companies to make money, because you made the normally paid features available for free.
Absolutely. I would say, along the way, of course, Judge Me has developed some features that are unique. We're the first ones in product groups to share like reviews across products in the same store, these kind of things. But fundamentally, yes, you can enter a market that is already like has competitors. I think the fact that there are competitors is a good sign. It means there is demand for it. Yeah, and if you have only a few big ones, there's always some people that are like willing to switch over.
All right, and of course, I checked your new website, by the way, that you have
very new.
Yeah, 30 minutes new. That you are not able to build it all in this size by yourself only, and you actually built a team. And just recently, you were completely virtual. You weren't sitting in the same office, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And right now, what happened? Like, how many of team members do you have, and who are they?
Okay, so at the moment we have 18 people working for us, but full-time equivalence is like 17 because we have 2 half-time people. We are hiring a few more in Lima, in Peru, where we're setting up a second office for South America, because one of the things that Judge Me is known for in the Shopify App Store is to have 24/7 support, and so we've always needed people in like a lot of time zones. I mean, at least 2, and then do 12 hours in each time zone. Or tell people to work in the night, but that's not sustainable. We tried that, but it doesn't work. And so 9 months ago, we tried going remote because I was trying to do that. It sounds like fun. And I actually moved to Bansko, Bulgaria. I spent the winter there to go skiing, which is fun. But then we found that it's very annoying to do communication and to work on designs together. And there's something missing, and the culture in the company wasn't going that great because of that. And so I moved back in March to Saigon, to Vietnam, to run the team here. And now everybody, I mean, we have a lot of people moving to Vietnam. We have also a product manager from Singapore who moved to Vietnam and stuff like that. And so going forward, I mean, we are keeping the currently remote people that are good, but going forward, we only hire in Saigon for the product team and for the Asia support, and then in Lima for the American support. Because there's something that at least we cannot figure out about remote that seems to be necessary to grow. And there is also, I forget the name now, but there is this new company that always analyzes SaaS growth. I forget the name, it's on top of my head. But they were analyzing, there was one time an email from them, and they say that if you're in an office, you grow like 30% faster or something. But I can find it back for you after the interview.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to discuss things faster and more agile than on
yes, I agree.
or anywhere else. All right, so you have 17 people, and a lot of them are actually moving to Vietnam. Why Vietnam?
Because I ended up here after the first company failed. So I was in startup Chile, so I was in Chile for the first company. Then I went broke. I used my last 10K to go to Chicago to do coding bootcamp because I was sick of having to always ask some developer to do my changes, right? Then so after Chicago, I had to go back to live in Belgium because I was getting like to zero.
Okay.
And then I had 2 options. I mean, I was closing down the business because it wasn't working. And then I could either take a job again in Belgium, which is going back to square zero, actually going backwards compared to a couple of years earlier. Or there was a guy from India that I met in Chile who was already a nomad back then because he hated living in India. And he told me that he liked Saigon a lot. That if you fly to Saigon, we can meet up and I will hire you as a junior developer and I will train you because you're going to need it because you've done like 1 bootcamp. So I took it. I used my last money to do a flight to Saigon, and then I ended up staying.
Okay. So it was the leap of faith that you landed and you didn't have much money and there was just no coming back and you just needed to make it all work, make money.
I had 2 options, and like one was Vietnam, one was Belgium, and Belgium sounded boring, so I took the adventure. That is how it goes. I mean, there was no big thinking of, oh, it's the future of Southeast Asia. No, just random luck.
So all right, so you landed there. You met with the developer, and you started building Judge Me.
Yeah. So what happened is after I arrived here, working for that Indian friend. I mean, that was a friend back then. After 3 weeks, I realized I hated working for him. So I found a job in like Ruby on Rails agency here in Saigon, and that's where I stayed a couple of years. And that's a few of the developers that have now worked for me or also work for me. And the current CTO, the first developer that I hired, was also from there. So I could work with them and I could observe who is actually good here, because in every company you have like a small part of the team that's really good. And so I hired of those. So that was actually, it was actually also nice. I mean, I was not earning as much as I could earn in Belgium, but at the same time, I was kind of preparing on the HR side for my next thing. So, and then,
Okay. So you were working for a few years in an agency, and like during the nights as a side hustle, you started building Judge Me on yourself. On yourself, you were coding it by yourself.
Well, so in the beginning, I asked the now CTO to do like pair programming with me because I wanted to keep control of the code, because I was still afraid from my first experience to lose control of the code, right?
Okay.
But then after a while, if we started working together better and it was clear we were going to work together long term, then I trusted him to do the code on his own. And then so as we had more revenue, I would like hiring more and more hours. So it started just like 4 hours every Saturday, and then it became a full Saturday. Then it became like 12 hours every week. And then eventually I hired him full time before I went full time myself. And then I think we started coding in January 2017. Sorry, no, it's 2015. I'm sorry. And then we launched by June 2015, right? That's when we went live. We started charging. And then by April the next year, we were both working full time. So basically it took us like months to go from like first line of code to both working out full time and being profitable.
Okay. That's nice. That's actually a good time to do it. All right, let's talk about my favorite topic, which is a user acquisition. How are you getting users for Judge Me? Because damn, you have a lot of them. you have you have almost 18,000 online shops using your product.
And this is actively like shops actively using Judge Me that we know they have installed our widgets, and we are sending emails for them, right? I mean, at least one of both. And so it's basically all Shopify App Store. I mean, we have BigCommerce, we have WooCommerce, but I can tell you it's like 97% or something Shopify. So Shopify to us has been amazing. We were early though, but still, it's an amazing platform, and I think it's one of its kind. And I think it's turning enterprise software into like B2C type app development, because we have done no marketing at all. I mean, as I told you, my first company, I didn't like the marketing. I realized that, and that's why I basically joined Shopify. Of course, it's also a weakness. Shopify kind of controls our growth, but you also have to trust that if you do a good job and if you're known for good support and you have like a great value proposition, that like they have no reason to screw you over. So that's what we've been trusting on for the past few years, and it's working out great so far.
No, that's interesting, because like in this environment where only the quality of the product decides whether people will download it, pay it, and use it, it's interesting because on Shopify you can have a really good brand, but I mean it doesn't help that much, right? You just need to have a really kick-ass product.
Exactly, and only the landing page matters, because as I told you, like half an hour ago or now maybe an hour ago, we had no landing page, we had no homepage. So the only way you could actually know the thing we do was to go to Shopify App Store or the BigCommerce landing page or the WooCommerce landing page. And so somehow it still works. I mean, we have a newsletter, but we didn't send one for 6 months now. So a lot of the things that people think are necessary are just not. If you can nail one marketing channel, then you're already like good to go for the next couple of years. Of course, now that I have more cash flow, I'm hiring a marketing person. We started a blog a couple of months ago, and you make these long-term investments. But I think if you start out and you start making a blog, I think is the wrong approach. That's my experience. Maybe other people have different experiences.
I mean, it's not really easy to duplicate this approach to other SaaS products, since like not every SaaS product is suitable for Shopify App Store, right?
I understand. That makes sense.
But it makes sense. All right, so you have almost 18,000 shops using it. Do you know like what portion of them are only, for example, dropshippers?
It's a high number, because we actually launched 2 smaller apps that are actually the same code base, but we're like separating some features into separate small apps to like double our like marketing, the free marketing for Shopify.
Okay.
Right, and they allowed us to do that. I mean, we're kind of to try this, and so they kind of like let it go. And so we have one called AliExpress Review Importer, because we noticed that some of the new competitors coming up in the App Store were focused only on dropshippers. And so we made one just for AliExpress to see what happened. And this one also now has 8,000 or 9,000. I have to check. I think it's more than 8,000 for sure. It's probably 9,000 or 10,000 by now. Actively people using this to import reviews from AliExpress. And so, if you look at our percentage of paying customers to free customers, it's going down over time, because we have so many of the free plan growth because of this AliExpress Review Importer. So I mean, I think Shopify is clearly pivoting towards more dropshipping. If you look at all the e-commerce merchants in developing countries like Southeast Asia here, but also Latin America, like a lot of them are focused on exporting back to the West, or mostly America, but also other Western countries. So it's a huge part of Shopify, yes.
It's interesting that you tapped a little bit into like what features to implement, that you use AliExpress important and so on. How do you actually decide on which features are are important for you, and what features to develop and implement into your products or in the separate apps?
Yeah, I mean, I can, to be honest, in the first 12, maybe even 24 months, it was just if we had a customer who asked in a nice way and we liked him or her, and then we just did it, you know, and we just tried to impress him. Like, it's also a way to get an app review. Like, if they ask a feature request and then like a day later say, hey, it's done, it's live, like, oh wow, what's happening? They get a 5-star review, and that's what builds your word of mouth. But then now, I mean, then later on, we actually launched, because we had too many customers asking us things, we launched this feedback to judge me page where you can leave a feature request and you can upvote them, and that's how we got some like, community feedback on what is most important. Can you still hear me? The connection is unstable?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay, cool. So then we had that as a second level. But so now we have a dedicated product manager for the core review app. I'm actually working on the next part of the analyzing usage of each feature and which to promote, and she's like making a better dashboard to promote certain features and stuff like that. And so now we actually become more data driven, because often if people ask for a feature request, we find that right now it is something we already have, they just don't know it yet. So that's now our challenge, to make sure that whatever we have already is known and used.
It's interesting. All right, I think it's slowly time to wrap it up, but I think after every time I say it, we keep talking for another 15 minutes. So, but I have a question like which interests me a lot, because you said that you already failed at some previous businesses. If you'd be starting now again, Judge Me or any other SaaS product, what would you do different? What would be like the most important things you would focus or not focus on the start?
Yeah, so for my current business, I think the two mistakes, there's two mistakes that I can identify, I think. One is that I didn't set enough targets for the team to be aggressive in growth, like, because we were the third app in the App Store, but there's like multiple launched after us, and 2 of those are now bigger than us. And so to me, it's kind of a failure that we were like a year earlier and these other apps are bigger. I mean, we are catching up again, especially, I mean, one of the 2 we are catching up very soon, but the other one is still like #1 in the App Store. So that is like mismanagement or like lack of product management, I would say. And the other thing is probably related is the fact that I kind of ignored the Shopify community for very long. I was just making the product because that's what I like to do. I was just like, okay, just working with the developers to get the next thing out. But then I went to the first Shopify Unite conference for partners. I didn't have much value out of it because I didn't put a lot of effort into it, I guess. And then I didn't go to the second and the third one. And then there's one competitor who's now #1 who did go there. And so I do feel that I should have probably engaged more with the community and realized that, I mean, I can wait for other apps to ask me to integrate, but I can also ask myself, you know, or have somebody on the team ask. So these are the 2 mistakes I made. And I feel, I mean, we have been growing very nice. It's bigger than I thought it would be at this point. I mean, we're 18 people. It's the first time I have this size of company. But if we did it properly, and if we actually were #1 and from the start, then we could have been double or triple the size. So you can look at it both ways. Like, am I an idiot or am I a great guy? I don't know. It depends how you look at it.
Yeah. So you're saying that the networking networking aspect was missing.
Yeah, networking and just pushing ourselves to, I mean, if you realize in the first year, like, look, we have this unique opportunity to really push a bit and like dominate, because there's some features that we took like a year after our competitors had it. We took a year to have it, you know, things like having like review pictures in your reviews, or like upvoting the reviews. These are not too hard to make. You just need to make the time for them, you know? And so, yeah, these are mistakes.
That's interesting.
Or like launching a homepage. I mean, we've done $1 million in revenue before we launched the homepage. I mean, so yeah.
No, I mean, it's funny because, yeah, for example, mobile apps, which is still quite similar because there's a marketplace, and like the biggest apps, which are making like tens of millions of dollars, they don't have a landing page. I mean, landing pages and everything. Right?
I like them already. Yeah, there's some people like me. Yeah.
If you have a good product. Right. So what are your plans for the future? Where do you want to take it?
So now the goal is clear to become the #1 review app.
Okay.
We are now actually tracking, we are actually tracking now every week how many app reviews we get, and we are like #2 in the trends. So we are going to become #2 the way it is. We are sending a guy to like Lima in Peru to really focus on hiring a team there. and we are going to do outbound support. So we have already great customer support, but it's very reactive right now. Excuse me. But so what we want to do is fix all this reactivity, because if somebody comes to you as an app, basically it's some patient in pain, and you're like kind of the doctor to fix the issue, right?
Okay.
But ideally, you actually prevent the issue by having better help desk, or even better UI UX. So there is no need for help desk in the first place. Right? So that's something we're going to work on with the team in Lima. And then the next level, of course, is do outbound support and just be there as an advisor to the companies and to the e-commerce merchants. Okay, this is the next feature you need to implement. This is how you can get more reviews. Because, I mean, you can install the feature, you can install the review widget, but then how do you get the most out of it? You can email them, but what is the best template? And so I think going forward, we have to move from delivering a set of features for a fixed price to like working with the merchants, and especially the biggest one, to like increase the value we deliver, and just like A/B testing, CRO, things like that. Yeah.
Why do you think it's that important to become a number one? Will it drive a lot more revenue for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, so all the customers come from Shopify. Number one, I'm missing out on free. Of course, I want to be number one, and I also believe that a lot of, I mean, if you look at our customer base, a lot of them come over from a competitor who is higher ranked. So I do believe if you start an app store and it's your first, if you start an e-commerce and it's your first time that you do this, if you just type in reviews, you're gonna download the top one and be okay with it, right? So there is power of default there. Yeah, and so especially the fact that I was older than the number 1 and 2 right now, I mean, as an app, it's a loss that we shouldn't have had, and so we have to compensate for that. Yeah.
And you mentioned like outbound support for the e-commerce. Can you explain it a little bit further, because it almost sounded like that you will be consulting these stores how to do it better, or how do you think it will work?
Yeah, so for example, one of the things we find is that if a shop has some issue, and then they email us right after install, and we fix it right away because our support answers very rapidly, they're so impressed we get a 5-star review. So you kind of get more 5-star reviews in the App Store from the customer who first an issue, rather than the person who is perfectly happy with the automatic installation and there's no interaction, there is no human voice there. Yeah. Right? So the obvious next idea would be, okay, if somebody installed app, let's just talk to them from our own end. Let's say, hey, this is like PJ, I'm from Judge Me.
All right.
You can now enable this setting here is maybe for your type of shop. If you do fashion, you can add like images or videos to your reviews, stuff like that, right? And become kind of their advisor along the way based on their profile of the shop, their size, because we see those things, right? In our app, we have to see all the orders to send the email so we can know which shop is big, which is small, what's their industry. We know a lot of things that we can like tailor our having one like app of which is a set of features. We can have like separate like verticals or separate approaches for different type of people. So that's the idea. And then
okay, go on.
Yeah, and so the idea is once you have these patterns that you analyze in your data, you can then just say, okay, if this type of shop logs in and somehow they're doing let's say $20,000 in revenue and they're still in the free plan after 2 months, it's probably because they were too lazy to check it out. And you just talk to them, hey, if you upgrade now, I can give you like a link to get it like for free for a month. You can now enable like these features, and it's going to benefit you. And here's the report to show you. You know, if you do those things, it's going to be easy to improve conversion, improve retention, lower churn, stuff like that. So that's the next level.
And you want to do it for every new customer, or after someone who will prove some results that they have a lot of like sales, visitors, and so on?
So yeah, we're now talking about which kind of jobs, which kind of tasks do we want on this outbound support. One of them will be after onboarding. I think it's a key moment. It's the first 5 minutes of using the app. You need to really keep them engaged. And then it's probably going to be, if we have more capacity, we're going to add like more and more scenarios. We're going to probably start with the highest earning shops and work our way down from there.
All right. I think it's almost time for the last part of the interview, which is the 90-second pitch. Do you think you can talk about Judge Me for 90 seconds?
So I think I can. Yeah. So if you have an e-commerce store on Shopify,
one second. I need to turn on my stopwatch. All right. Okay. Ready when you are. Tell me.
All right. Okay, guys and girls, if you have an e-commerce store on Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce, you can install Judge Me to power your product reviews. we will automate the entire process for you and get you more reviews. And these reviews on your product page will increase conversion rate. So it pays for itself. We are the most affordable app by far. We're only $15 for the full plan. We also have a very generous free plan. We have 18,000 merchants, almost 18,000 merchants using us. So that's the best, best proof of concept I can give you. That's it.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
That was perfect elevator pitch.
I hope so. I mean, I told you, I mean, marketing and me is not a good combination. So I've never done a pitch for Judge Me because I never went to raise capital or anything.
I mean, Shopify store is doing everything for you. You don't have to pitch, right?
Exactly.
All right, PJ. It was awesome talking to you. I'd be very happy if you could stay active in the community, if you would share this interview maybe with your community, because you shared some pretty good insights about your story, about your product, about what you're planning, and so on. As I mentioned, I will be creating a blog post out of it, so you can share this as well. Thanks a lot for joining, and I wish you all the best from the Vietnam and from about the building your team. And
thank you very much for having me. It was a very nice conversation. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much as well. And yeah, have an awesome day.